The next step is to SSH into your virtual machine again, and then if you haven't already, activate your Tethys environment. Then we're going to use the Tethys settings command to set 3 settings. First, we need to add the social core backend for Google, which is this one, and we set the authentication backends to this. Notice it's a list, so when we set this for Facebook, we'll have to add another one. Then you need to set 2 settings with your client ID and client secret. For Google, the setting that you set the client ID is called Social Auth Google OAuth 2 Key. You'll give it the client ID as the value. And then Social Auth Google OAuth 2 Secret will get your secret. Finally, you'll need to restart the servers to effect these changes. And now we can go and test it. Now, just to illustrate, if I go here outside of the virtual machine and log in, you'll see I do have a link for logging in with Google. And if I click on it, you'll see that it redirects me to Google's account login page, but I get a 400 error. And that's because this is not an authorized domain. Or really, it doesn't accept a local IP address as a valid domain. So that's why we have to log into the virtual machine and test with that. So go ahead and navigate to the VirtualBox interface and log in. It'll take just a moment to start up. One thing that you'll want to check before continuing is that the date and time is up to date. If you've been saving your state as you've gone through the exercise, the date and time might be off. To reset that, go ahead and hit the Command key to pull up the system search and also this application shortcut bar, and search for time or date, and you'll find this date time setting. So if I launch that and then select it from the left here, you'll see that I have automatic date and time is turned on, but if you go ahead and toggle that off and then back on, then it will reset your time. Mine seems like it's up to date, but that's just one gotcha. There are a lot of security protocols in place that if the times don't match. So anyways, just make sure that the time is set up on yours. Let me go ahead and close the settings here. And then let's launch Firefox. So I'll just use this tab that's here, localhost, because the server is running on this machine. We can access it through localhost. But this is one of the issues that you'll run into if you haven't configured it to be accessed through localhost. Remember, we've only set our server names for the external IP address. So we need to add localhost as a server name for our site. Otherwise, you just get the default Nginx page like this. So go ahead, press the Command key, and open up a terminal. And what we're going to do is edit the Nginx configuration for Tethys, which is in etc nginx confd tethys nginx.conf. And this is the 443 section, so that's for HTTPS. Let's go ahead and do this for 80, which is HTTP. And before our server name, I'm going to add localhost. And while I'm at it, 127.0.0.1. Okay, so that we can access this site locally. Go ahead and save those changes. And then we'll need to restart. And let's just restart everything. Use the Command key to be able to switch back to Nginx. And yeah, I feared this might be the case. Sometimes there's another issue that's going on. So I'll show you how to deal with that. It's not working with localhost. Let's check our 127. Okay, so that one's loading fine, but for some reason, it's a caching issue or something, or a routing issue with Nginx. I'm not sure, but I found this little trick can help. So now if you do a sudo this time, vim, etc nginx, but this time we're going to edit the default nginx configuration, or the overall nginx configuration. Okay, and what you want to do is come down to this line, that's the second listen line that has this pattern here, and basically accepts all connections from all hosts, and comment that out. Okay, and then save that. I believe that's what's capturing it. And then go ahead and restart. Again, use the command key to switch between tasks. And now let's try this. Okay, so that's working. So those are a few tricks that you may run into. It's not often that you get on the server. Many servers don't have graphical interfaces like this. But since ours does, you may want to set it up to be able to access it from on the server. For our particular case, though, the reason we're here is to show and demonstrate the Google login, which you can see is working here. We've got a link. And this time, instead of showing me that error page, because it allows localhost as a redirect URL, I get the login page. So let me take a moment to log in, and then I'll rejoin you in a second. Okay, so we're back, and the login was successful. I'm here in the apps library, and you can see here's my user profile. If I go here, you can see it automatically generated a username for me and logged me in with my email. You can also see that it shows up as connected with Google. So the authentication worked. In the future now, since I've already logged in, I can log out, log in, and click on this, and it will log me right in since I'm already logged in with Google. Fabulous. So once again, just to reiterate, if you have a fully qualified domain name, as you would with a real setup of a production server, then you would be able to test this out like normal. But it's just because we're using a virtual machine and a local IP address, we aren't able to test here. So we had to test in the virtual machine, which had a few styling issues, but functioned fine.